Avad Yisrael, Amen Shema Yisrael.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil olive beaten for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually in the tabernacle of the congregation. And it shall be a statute forever in your generation.
The Eternal Light. The National Broadcasting Company and its independent affiliated stations present The Eternal Light, a program which comes to you under the auspices of the Jewish Theological Seminary of America. Our program today, Gideon Goes to War, was written by Stephen Gethers and is based on the book of the same name by Leonard Mosley. It is presented in observance of the 20th anniversary of the State of Israel.
From Mount Tabor, it is possible even for an unbeliever to look out and be moved by spiritual and religious emotion. For all around is the land of the Bible, and it is a shining land. And the atmosphere, redolent with history and legend, is thick in your nostrils as you look at it, and it is impossible not to find it beguiling and disturbing. For Ord Wingate, it was a dream of childhood come true. Ord Wingate, seeing the landscape of his Bible coming to life, was a convinced Zionist for the rest of his existence. And from the moment of his revelation, he made no secret of the fact that he would help the Jews to win their independent state, even if it meant fighting other enemies of Zion besides the Arabs.
Gentlemen, I've joined your staff of headquarters, British forces in Jerusalem, as intelligence officer. I've been here several days. Now, what am I supposed to do?
Do?
Yes, sir.
Well, there's very little to do here, Captain Wingate. It's not what you'd call an unpleasant sort of life. We still try to observe the various social amenities of our mother country. When possible, the wives of our officers take tea together. There are dances.
I'm afraid that hardly falls under the duties of intelligence, Colonel.
He's been here too short a time, sir. When the captain has been indoctrinated for 2 or 3 months and sees the impossibility of the situation, I'm sure he'll be perfectly willing to join the throng of ladies at afternoon tea.
May I ask a question?
Certainly, Captain.
Whose side are we on?
We are on the British side. Oh, didn't you know?
And on whose side are the British?
Captain Wingate, at first I found you rather amusing. Now I fear you're being dreadfully zealous about the situation. Let me make it clear to you, sir. We are here to maintain peace between two sides, the Arabs and the Jews. This is 1936, Captain Wingate. I needn't tell you of the past history of this area. It's been tense, and we've managed to relieve that tension.
How?
Well, by minding our own business. We shall continue to act accordingly. Remember that. Is there anything else, Wingate?
Yes, sir. Long before I reached Palestine, I knew what the Jews were seeking. I understood what they needed, sympathized with their aims, and knew they were right. Now, this is not a personal conviction, Colonel. It is based on fact, legal fact. Palestine is a British mandate under the League of Nations, dedicating us to create a national Jewish homeland. Now, it is my belief as a soldier, sir, that when there are opposing sides, every man must proclaim his allegiance.
Oh, you're very right, Captain, of course. Proclaim your allegiance to whomever you wish, as long as it is England.
Very good.
But Captain Wingate was a man who searched for truth. And, soldier or civilian, a man who searches for truth proclaims his own allegiance. That night, Ord C. Wingate drove across Mount Carmel, stopped outside a block of flats, doused the lights of the car, and went inside. It was his first evening out in Palestine, and he was to remember it for the rest of his life.
Shalom. I beg your pardon. You must have the wrong house.
I have the right address. Is your husband at home, Mrs. Wilensky?
No, sir.
Someone for me, my dear?
Oh, come in, please.
Well, good evening, Captain.
Good evening, Mr. Wilensky.
This is my wife, Captain Wingate.
You do a good job. You even have my name.
Especially your name. Sit down, please.
Yeah, thank you.
Would you care for a drink? Whiskey and soda, perhaps?
An excellent British concoction. Yes, thank you.
Whiskey is universal, Captain. As universal as people taste. What can I do for you?
I've seen your face in the files at GHQ. Now, tell me the truth now. Is it a fact that you are Chief Intelligence Officer for the Haganah?
You mustn't believe everything you hear.
Now, you don't need to play diplomatic games with me. Why are you afraid? Why don't you say what you are?
I am not afraid to say what I am. I am a Jew.
Then tell me, Mr. Wilensky, do you believe in a Zionist state, in an independent state of Israel?
I'm not afraid of answering that. Yes, I do.
Oh, you do?
Hmm?
But you know what it means. Do you Jews realize that you'll have to fight for your independence?
I think, Captain Wingate, that we do.
But fight, I mean fight. A bloody struggle. There'll be no free Palestine for the Jews unless you fight.
Fighting is just a small part of it, my friend. We cannot fight until we are sure we can win.
Uh-huh. And how do you propose to do that?
If I could answer that, we'd be fighting now.
I see. Mr. Wilensky, I would like to teach you. I'd like to teach you how to fight. And then I should like to lead you.
Why?
It seems too simple to say that I arrived in Palestine a convinced Zionist. But it happens to be the truth.
Your whiskey and soda, Captain.
The Haganah knew that British policy was against an independent Jewish state. They knew that Wingate was an intelligence officer. They watched him, not knowing whether they were being goaded or tricked. But in a little while, they discovered that Lord Wingate was sincere. For 18 months, Wingate passed up the teas and the dances and did what he had come to Palestine to do. There was little equipment, but he used what he had. He trained the Haganah, and finally, with his friend Zvi Brenner, he put it to its first test. He took a 7-man patrol and went off into the darkness. Zvi and the other men waited for his signal.
That's it. That was the signal. What's taking so long? Remember what he said, Daniel. They don't expect an attack from us. Let them pass until they're surrounded. Then we will open fire, right? Patience, my friend. They look for him. They will not find him. Go! Zvi! Yes. He should be back by now. He is back by now. Where did you come from?
They approach. Are the others ready?
They've been ready for years.
Not ready, Daniel, eager. Now, let us show these people that the night does not belong to the Arabs alone. Fire!
It was well into the morning when they got back. Filthy, badly scratched, exhausted, but triumphant. They were home. But Jerusalem was also the home of British Army headquarters.
For Wingate to deliberately flaunt British policy, to take the Jews into action and encourage them to infiltrate, to fight, when he knows that they must defend themselves only inside their settlements. To do it without permission.
The man's insane. I can't understand how General Wavell has allowed him to remain here, and I don't think he will for long.
Are you serious, Wingate? Are you trying to start an all-out war?
We have started nothing, sir.
We? You forget you're a British officer.
I'm a British officer who is sent to do a job, and I'm doing that job as I see fit.
But not as I see fit. And there are still channels of command.
The Arab rebellion is growing worse, sir. Why must a man be allowed only to defend himself? If he must defend, that means he's being attacked, in which case it is his right to counterattack.
But you can't keep peace by going out on patrols, by shooting up the perimeter.
This is not fighting, sir. This is fighting back.
Blast you, Wingate. You sound like a Gideon in British uniform.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Oh, no, I'm not complimenting you. I was merely making an observation.
Go, in this thy might, and thou shalt save Israel.
What?
Gideon, sir. That's what he said. It's in the Bible.
I sent you to Palestine, Captain, because I thought you were the best man for the job.
Then trust me, sir. I have a plan.
You have?
Yes, I have.
Very well. Make it good, Captain. But in the process of saving Israel, I advise you not to destroy the British Empire. When Wingate returned to headquarters, the staff officers were surprised to see him. They'd been certain that General Wavell would never allow him to come back to Palestine. As he entered, there was silence for a moment. Then...
Colonel,
Isn't that Wingate, sir?
Wingate? Well, it couldn't be. I understood. Yes, it is Wingate.
What the devil is he doing back here?
Captain Wingate reporting, sir.
What? Oh, yes, of course. Well, Wingate, how did you make out?
I'm leaving, sir.
Oh, well, that's too bad, Wingate. Sorry to lose you.
Oh, yes, indeed. Sorry to lose you, Wingate.
Oh, thank you, sir.
When are you going?
Tomorrow morning.
That soon, eh?
Yes, sir.
By ship?
No, sir. Truck, sir. I'm posted at Ein Harod.
Ein Harod?
Yes, along with the volunteers who wish to go with me.
Is this a joke?
No, sir. It's all here in the orders, sir.
Well, surely you don't think any of our men will volunteer?
I think they will. With your permission, sir, I should like to call for a formation.
Wingate, you're a magician.
Or a madman. They were to find out which almost immediately. The enlisted men were told to fall in at the company area. The colonel and the major assembled the staff to observe what their problem child was about to do.
Fall in. Assembled, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. Stand easy. Gentlemen, I am looking for volunteers. With the permission of General Wavell, I am proceeding to Ein Harod to form the Haganah into a fighting unit. And I need men, as many as I can muster. Questions?
You mean we're going to help the Jews, sir?
I mean exactly that. First volunteer.
An auspicious beginning.
I wish Wavell were here to see this.
If you men volunteer, it will mean less spit and polish or action. It will mean doing what you were sent here to do. You joined the fight. I'm giving you the opportunity. Volunteers?
I'm rather enjoying this.
You'll be dressed in blue shirts, linen trousers, and gym shoes, and be mixed with the settlement members. You'll be equipped with rifles, hand grenades, a water bottle, and a pole on the end of which a torch could be tied. There'll be strict discipline, of course, but I intend to make each enlisted man a non-commissioned officer with the usual advancement in privilege.
I'll go, sir.
Fall out. Now, with the advancement in privilege will go an advancement in pay.
I'll go, sir.
Fall out.
Me too, sir.
Fall out.
Well, Major, which is he, madman or magician?
Magician, I'm afraid.
Wingate began operations from Ein Harod on an approved basis. He started a school to train Jewish settlers in the art of making guerrilla warfare. There was stupefaction in GHQ and jubilation in the Jewish Agency. From settlements all over Palestine, men were ordered by Haganah to volunteer for service. Soon, Wingate was in full gear. Only one thing was missing, one important detail. He went to see his old friend, Emanuel Wilensky.
I have a job for you, Emmanuel.
Not unusual for you, Captain.
My boys wear their working clothes when they go into action. But when they're in Ein Harod, they need something to remind them that they are a corps d'elite. We cannot go to the expense of providing them with a full uniform, but I've decided that they shall have a distinctive hat.
A hat?
Yes, the sign of a man of the Special Night Squadron, the SNS, will be an Australian hat. And I want real Australian hats, hats from London, and soon.
He got his hats, and soon the course of instruction began with the help of 2 junior British officers. It is now part of the handbook of training for the Israeli army.
This is a course for Jewish sergeants. It has been known as the Soldier's 10 Commandments. 1, know and love what you fight for. 2, carry out every order of your commanding officers with speed and understanding, accept his leadership with faith, and don't ask permission to add your explanation to his words and instructions. 3, use your equipment only in fulfillment of your duty and use it sparingly. We are not making war on the Arab nation, but on the Arab gangs. And towards the ordinary Arabs, we will abstain from cruelty and brutality. A coarse and savage man makes a bad soldier.
For these theories, and for putting them into operation, Ord C. Wingate earned the DSO plus promotion to the rank of major. The Wingate Army fought when it could. It was no longer a waiting operation. At Dabulia, it overturned one of the most dangerous nests of Arab gangsters in Palestine. And attacks, both upon the pipeline and the settlements, though they went on, were never quite as serious again. But there were reactions to the operation which were to have serious repercussions for him. At the Colonial Office in London, questions were beginning to be asked about his work.
This man, a professional soldier, has been allowed to throw authority and caution out of the window.
Yes, so I understand.
Do you realize that the Arabs have placed a price on his head of £1,000?
£1,000?
They almost got him to. He was wounded during a skirmish. Put him in the hospital.
But is it true that he's actually training Jews in the art of warfare? I mean, actually training them to become even more belligerent than they already are.
He's deliberately going out and killing Arabs. Arabs, whose friendship it is most important for us to keep.
Astonishing.
I think we had better have a talk with the Commander-in-Chief.
And I understand General Wavell is very close to him.
General Wavell departs tomorrow. General Haining will be his replacement.
General Haining at first acquiesced in the establishment of Ein Harod as a school for the SNS. But now he was beginning to have his doubts. Something Major Wingate was at first unaware of, but not for long.
Dispatch for you, sir.
Leave it on the desk, Svi.
I think you'd better read it.
Huh?
Perhaps you'd like me to do it for you.
Yes, if you like.
You're a fool to work so hard, Wingate. A man who suffered a wound like yours.
What do you suggest, Svi, that I stay in the hospital? Oh, read the dispatch and stop talking nonsense.
Yes, sir. Memorandum to Major Ord C. Wingate. Subject, dispersal of all British personnel.
Let me have it. Effective immediately. All British personnel will be returned to their home bases. It is hereby ordered that the organization known as the Special Night Squadron be abandoned without delay.
All British personnel?
Yes.
But General Wavell...
General Wavell is gone. He's been replaced by General Haining.
Wingate tried to see General Haining and ask for a reprieve, but he was refused an interview and through channels was forbidden even to return to Ein Haroth. He gloomed around Jerusalem and Haifa, well aware that he was being mocked and sneered at by practically every British officer in the command. He had one task which, fortunately, occupied his mind.
Dr. Weitzman would like you to prepare a paper of defense, Major. The time approaches when the white paper on Palestine will be issued, and we're hopeful that it will grant us our independence.
You want me to prepare it?
Only you.
Well, it should be prepared by a Jew, Emmanuel.
Where could we find a better Jew than you, Major?
So Wingate wrote a document called The Jewish State, Security and Defense, Transition Period, which is today one of the most treasured documents in the archives of Israel. He wrote it certain that his military career was in danger, that an independent Jewish state was still some time away, but he wrote it nevertheless. And he was right, for the net result of his activity was dismissal. Before he went home, his beloved Jewish settlers in the special night squads threw him a farewell party.
I know, Major, that a farewell party should have music and laughter, but this is not exactly a celebration for us.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
What you have already left us is here. Tell us how we can preserve it.
Yes, please do.
Well, I should like you to hear what my commanding officer has written on my report. It says, Ord C. Wingate is a good soldier, but so far as Palestine is concerned, he is a security risk. He cannot be trusted. He puts the interests of Jews before those of his own country. He should not be allowed in Palestine again.
Shame.
I am sent away from you and from the country I love. I suppose you know why. It is because we are two great friends.
There is no such thing as too great a friend.
My country disagrees.
It's impossible.
But I promise you I shall come back. If I cannot do it the regular way, I shall return as a ma'pil, an illegal refugee. You asked me to tell you how to preserve what I have left you. Well, there is but one way. When the state of Israel becomes a reality, make it work. For myself, I shall always preserve what you have given me.
Bravo! Bravo!
These were the last words Major Ord C. Wingate spoke to his beloved people. For he was to go on to other campaigns, Ethiopia, Burma, where he was to rise in rank to Major General, and at the age of 41 to go down with his plane and crash to death in the Burma jungles. He was never to return. But before he left Palestine, he climbed the hills of Mount Tabor once again to look out at his cherished adopted land and say to himself the words of the psalm he chanted when he arrived.
Shir Hamalot, Beshuv Adonai, Et Shivat Zion, Hainu Kekolmin, As Yimala Sechok Pinu, Kolashonenu Rina.
When the Lord turned upon the captivity of Zion, we were like them that dream. Then was our mouth filled with laughter, and our tongue with singing. For all around him was the land of the Bible, and it was a shining land. Eastward, it looks upon the sacred tomb of the Druses, and drops down the glassy waters of the Galilee and the discolored cliffs like decayed teeth. on the Syrian shore. North is the Mount of the Beatitudes and the calm cone of Mount Hermon. South is the hot shimmer of the Jordan Valley. And westward, the ground is rich and sprouting with corn as it rolls down towards the Mediterranean, past the well of Ein Harod, where Gideon is buried.
If you would like a copy of today's script, please send your name and address with 25 cents to cover the cost of postage and handling to the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, 3080 Broadway, New York, New York, 10027. And now we take great pleasure in presenting Mr. Hanoch Gifton, Minister for Press and Public Affairs, Permanent Mission of Israel to the United Nations. Mr. Gifton.
The Eternal Light could hardly have chosen a more appropriate subject for its program observing the 20th anniversary of the State of Israel than the one devoted to Ord Wingate. From the times of Gideon, the warrior and judge of Israel, at the spring of Ein Harod, through the Maccabees, till our own times, it has always been the destiny of the Jewish people to struggle me'atim neget rabim, the few against the many. And so it was with the modern Gideon, Ord Wingate, and his SNS Haganah fighters, who have since become the commanders of the Israel Defense Forces in the War of Independence 20 years ago, and the same was true only last year in the Six-Day War for Israel's survival. So when Israel is celebrating its 20th anniversary, it is still a very young state, but a very old nation, steeped in the ideals of the Book of Books, a nation which, having carried proudly and faithfully the great heritage of the Bible through the ages of persecution and oppression, has found anew its identity in the land of the Bible, in the land of its forefathers. After 20 years of struggle and strife, of building a new nation out of masses of immigrants who came from all corners of the world, and carving out an economy out of a centuries-old wasteland, Israel is looking on its 20th anniversary to the future. Beyond the dint of terrorist raids and border clashes, Israel looks to the promise of its fulfillment, to the promise of the prophet Isaiah, when the peoples will beat their swords into plowshares and learn war no more.
Thank you, Mr. Gifton. Our Eternal Light program today, Gideon Goes to War, was written by Stephen Gethers and marks the 20th anniversary of the State of Israel. This is Jerry Damon. This recorded broadcast of the Eternal Light was directed by Kenneth McGregor. The National Broadcasting Company and the Jewish Theological Seminary of America, and all those connected with the Eternal Light, share a sense of deep loss at the death of Kenneth McGregor. He was with radio almost as long as there has been radio network broadcasting. His ability and generous dedication to his work received particular acknowledgement only last Tuesday, when the Eternal Light was given the Peabody Award, the highest recognition of merit within our industry. We all join in extending our sympathy to Kenneth McGregor's family and to his many, many friends. This is the NBC Radio Network.